Here's Rineman in the Morning, on demand from 102.1 and 105.3, The Shark.
On October 24th, 2005, it was 11 p.m. I was at my parents' house in Northampton, New Hampshire, just out of college, and the phone rang. I thought it was a family member like my grandmother or maybe my sister, and then I got a knock on the door of my bedroom. It was my dad with the phone, and he just simply said, "It's Jay Leno." Jay had gotten my resume from our mutual friend Barry, who lives right here in New Hampshire. He's from Portsmouth and Hampton and has a wonderful business as well, and Barry put us in touch. And long story short, we connected, and Jay decided to let me write some jokes for him. That's kind of how I started my career in comedy at the age of 22. As you probably know, Jay had a very scary accident at his garage in California, where he keeps all those wonderful classic cars. That was back in the fall, and happy to report Jay is doing well. And I was very lucky to get to speak with him just before all that craziness happened. So hope you enjoy my conversation with Jay Leno, and stick around to the end for another very special guest. Well, this is incredibly exciting. My guest today is not only the first stand-up comedian I ever saw on TV, but also the first person for whom I wrote jokes. He hosted The Tonight Show on NBC for 22 years. Welcome to Rineman in the Morning, the great Jay Leno. Jay, welcome to the show.
John, how are you? Good to talk to you.
So I have to apologize off the start. We had a hard time connecting last week. Totally my fault. But I think subconsciously I was very nervous. Was there anyone that even after you were famous would still make you feel a bit nervous when you chatted with them?
Oh, so actually, I was just trying to avoid you, so it's not totally your fault.
It's just like the old days.
It's Rineman again.
Yeah.
Was there anyone? I'm trying to think. No, I can't say that there was actually. I mean, I don't mean that to sound snobby or something, but it's just that after a while you kind of realize it's a job, and the guy you're talking to is not really Batman. He's just a guy playing Batman. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that was not. No, I can't say I was nervous about it. Now, once I got the job, you kind of settle into it and you realize, that's sort of the way it is. I mean, there are times when you just have these awkward moments. I remember once I had Roger Moore on,
mm-hmm.
and I said, "Hey, how have you been? What have you been up to?" He said, "I was on vacation." I said, "Where'd you go?" "India." Oh, well, that's quite a trip. No, not really. Were you going from England? No, from here. Oh, well, how often would you go there? Oh, good heavens, probably every weekend. Every weekend you go to India. He goes, yeah. It's not a little unusual. No, not really. I couldn't, and I could see everybody go, what's well, I finally said to him, "Look, I maybe it's just different lifestyles, but I don't see how you can go to India every day." Well, it's an hour. It's not. Well, he was talking about Indio, California. Well, we just got off to the wrong foot. The stupid conversation. Oh no, not really. I go every weekend. Every weekend to India. Yes, every weekend to India.
I had that happen where one of my friends in junior high was, I'm going to Greece. And I was like, wow. They were going to see Greece like at the movie theater or something.
Oh, right. Yeah, that kind of. Yeah, exactly. And it was the same thing. It was just one of these, okay, just off on the wrong foot.
Yeah, it turns into something great. But yeah, that first minute, we're just like, what are we doing here?
Actually, one time, as ridiculous as this sounds, I get a call from Gorbachev.
Really?
He's in Los Angeles. He'd like to have dinner.
Wow.
Oh, okay. So when you have dinner with Gorbachev, he doesn't speak English, or at least he doesn't try to, so he has an interpreter. So I'm with my wife, and we meet at the Beverly Hills Hotel, and I said, "Nice to meet you." And I said, and this is my wife, Raisha. She was alive at the time. I said, "Oh," and I said, "You obviously married an older man. How are you?" "Yeah, and then her face gets all kind of, what? And the chairman says, "My husband was not an old man when I married him." No, that's not what I meant. I meant you look great. Obviously, you must have been a teen bride. I'm just trying to give a compliment.
Yes, of course.
And it comes back, Doug goes, "I was not a child when I married my husband." No, I said, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to give a compliment and say, you look beautiful. You look. Hey, yeah, there's just no way to do it. The interpreters couldn't get it straight. And here's the favorite part. The only reason he called me was he wanted me to make a donation of $50,000 to the Gorbachev Foundation. I said, I don't even give money to American politics. I really don't. It's just not something I do. I mean, if it's, kid needs dialysis or something, okay, I get it. But the fact that I would donate to the Gorbachev Foundation, hello.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have plenty of experience with these bizarre encounters because, I mean, Boston's now known for all its famous stand-up clubs, but you're the pioneers, which meant when you went first, there was nothing there, and so you had to be creative. Is this right? Your first regular gig was at the Playboy Club in Boston. Is that right?
Yeah, and you had to do 6 shows a night.
How do you do stand-up at the Playboy Club, though?
Well, you had the Playmate room and the Playboy room. Okay. It was there were 2 rooms. They were upstairs and downstairs. And I remember working the gig, and they always have like some female singer opening for, singing Mountain Greenery or some such song.
Yeah. And
I remember that the Bob Winter Trio, the house trio, they had to move the drums up and down in between shows.
Yep.
Carry them all upstairs and then carry them back downstairs. Like there'd be a show at 8:00 in the Playboy room, and then at like 9:15 the Playmate room, and then at 10:05, and then so it came out to about 6 shows a night. And I remember that the female singer, while I was on stage, she had to carry the drums for the band. Up and down all these things. And like about halfway through the show, you see a mascara running, and big sweat stains under her dress, kind of just drum up and down.
Didn't one of them stand up for you against a heckler one time though? Like
I used to work the Hillbilly Ranch. Do you remember the Hillbilly Ranch used to be a club in Boston too? One time I was with Freddie Prinze, and when comedians came into town, they would stay at my apartment. That was sort of the deal, and so. Freddie's working the Playboy Club, and he's on stage, and he's talking about Nixon, and then, Nixon doesn't do this, he sucks, and the guy pulls out a gun and just fires it above Freddie's head, right? So everybody hits the floor, and the band runs off, and it was just crazy. It was just crazy, yeah.
Wow. But this is interesting, too. So when everyone's starting out, people always have different ideas for what they can do. Did someone suggest to you, I read your book, it was Leading with My Chin, which is a great book and one of my favorite books. Did a talent manager suggest you become a professional wrestler at one point? Was that something they threw to you?
I got that, too. You know what it is? It's so funny because I wouldn't change anything because you get great empathy. Whenever I would hear people say, like with the Cosby situation, oh, come on, these women knew what they were doing. I go, no, they don't. Because I had a similar, and it wasn't a sexual thing, but I remember I went to a club in Boston, and I walked in, and I said, because what I used to do was I would go to a place that didn't have comedy, nobody had comedy, and I would put $50 on the bar, and I'd say to the bartender, let me go up and tell some jokes. If people hate it and I do bad, you keep the 50. If I do okay, give me my 50 back.
Wow.
And that worked pretty good. That only cost me about $475 or something like that once. So I think it wasn't too bad. I lost money a few times, but most times that was a good way to get it because comedy just wasn't something anybody did. So I go to this one club and the guy says, "Are you in the union?" I said, "What union? You got to be in AGVA. You got to be in the stage performers or something."
Yeah.
I went, no. He said, "Oh, I can't hire you unless you." I said, "Well, how do I join the union?" Go see this guy at the AGVA office, whatever it is. All right. So he gives me an address, and I go down to this place, And as I come through the door, I don't know if it was me, but I heard the guy go, Right. Thanks for the tip. Click. Hang up the phone as if this guy had called him. He goes, "What can I do for you?" I said, "Well, I'm a comedian, and I was told you got to join. How long have you been a comedian?" I said, "Well, not quite a year. I guess a year. You're supposed to join within a few months of being. You could be in violation right now. I could. What? Oh, you could be fined." I said, "Well, how much is it to join the union?" He says, $300. I said, "Oh, I don't have $300. And then he said those great words, "Well, how much you got?" I said, "Well, I reached in my pocket. I got about $75. He just took my $75, and he gave me a business card, wrote Union Man on the back, and signed it. He said, 'You show this to anybody. This is my card.'" Oh, okay. Now, I knew I had been taken. But, it's one of those things where you think, well, I don't know, is this like, I felt like Coco in Fame. Remember at the end of the movie where, and I thought, well, okay. So I take this card and I go back to this club and I go, I joined the union. The guy goes, "What? You did?" Yeah, I spoke to that guy. Let me see. I show him the card. The guy goes, "Charlie, he's unbelievable. No, I don't need any kid. Get lost." And I went, "Oh, all right." But, at the time it was happening, I knew I was being taken. But, you're so naive. You think, well, I want to be a grown-up. I want to do this the right way. Maybe there's a slight chance this is legit, but it wasn't. It was just a nightmare, just horrible.
Do you come back to New England often? What do you like to do when you come back here? What do you like most about the region?
Actually, I don't get back that often. I love New England because the last time I was in Boston, I got what I call a Boston compliment.
Okay.
And this is classic New England. I'm walking down the street, and the guy goes, "Hey, Jay Leno, hey, how you doing, man?" He said, "Hey, let me tell you something. My friend met you in California. He said you're not an a-hole." I said, "Well, thank you very much, sir." And then the guy goes, "No, really? No, he did." And I said, well, thank you. I appreciate that. That's very kind of you, sir. Please thank your friend for me." He goes, "Yeah, no problem, man. Good to see you." I said, "Okay." And I thought, okay, that's about as good as you're going to get in Boston.
Yeah.
That's about as good as it gets.
Yes.
And it just made me laugh.
Did he give you a card that said "not an a-hole" and you're in the non-a-hole union?
Just made me laugh. Just made me laugh.
Well, it's great. You're still making us laugh because I loved seeing you over the summer. I was watching on you and Kevin on You Bet Your Life, which is fantastic, and then also Jay Leno's Garage on CNBC. That's one of my favorite shows because I admittedly, I'm not much of a car guy, but I love this show. It's funny. You learn from it. You've had everyone from Senator Mitt Romney. You've had President Joe Biden, all these amazing people. Who's someone you'd love to get for Jay Leno's Garage that it just hasn't worked out just yet?
Oh, I'm trying to think of who. Probably The Rock, only because he's a really nice guy, but he is busy, so you got to sneak him in there. But, the fun thing about the show is I call the celebrity up and I go, "Look, I don't care about your cocaine bust. We're not interested in your divorce.
Mm-hmm.
We don't care if your last movie bombed. We're just talking about any interaction you've had with a motor vehicle." All right, great. And they know I'm not. It's not an ambush show. I'm not trying to get them to reveal something,
Right.
And that's kind of what makes it fun. And it's all just totally off the cuff. It takes about with celebrities, I try to do their time, maybe 2 hours, and they're done and they're out of there. It's not an all day thing where they're stuck rehearsing and there's a lot of editing and all this kind of stuff. So it's a pretty easy show to do. I've been trying to get Brad Pitt because Brad's a big motorcycle guy and a very nice guy. He did sketches with us.
Yeah.
When I first started the Tonight Show, he had a movie out with, I think it was called War Games with, with Robert Redford. And I remember the time we took him door to door, and the sketch was, he'd not go, "Hi, I'm Brad Pitt. What do I have to do to get you to see my movie?" and then remember once we knocked on the door, it's just this big, sloppy, fat guy.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, "Yeah, I'll see your movie." And then they cut to him and Brad in bed, and he's smoking, and they're both shirtless, and Brad's crying.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a very nice guy, very down to earth, and he is probably the most movie star looking guy I've ever met.
Yeah.
You know, I remember when I saw him in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. You know, he's on the roof with his shirt off, and I'm going, I'd sleep with this guy. I'm sorry.
No, and he's a good sport too. Like he'll do. Yeah, I've worked on shows where he's game for it. He doesn't do a lot of interviews, but he's really fun with comedy. He'll come do a bit for you.
Yeah, no, he's a really nice guy. Knows motorcycles, but he's just busy all the time. But yeah, no, he's really nice and no attitude. You know, phalanx of people all around him. He's right down to earth.
Now, when it's so cool that you're doing this because, as has been talked about throughout the years, now when Johnny Carson retired, we didn't see him again. But you've had 2 hit shows since you left Late Night, and then your contemporary, shall we say, David Letterman, now has a show on Netflix. So,
right.
Is there a chance you would maybe say, "Hey, Dave, why don't you come on and drive some cars?" And then maybe I'll come on your show on Netflix, and we'll go back and forth like we did on the old Late Night show.
You know, that would be fine with me. I have no problem with that. You know, Dave is such a quirky guy. I can remember years ago before any of us were well known, Will Schreiner and I. Will Schreiner's there very
sure, yeah.
We're riding motorcycles one day, and Dave had just started kind of guest hosting the Tonight Show, maybe once or twice. So we're riding my motorcycles up in Malibu. I said, let's go see Dave. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So go to Dave's house. We knock on the door, and he's like, what? What are you guys doing here? Dave, we just came by to say hi. It was so awkward.
Yeah.
And Will and I are going, you know, this is a mistake. And we're sitting on Letterman's couch, and he's like, so what can I do for you? Nothing, Dave. We just came by. Actually, we got to go. You know, it was just, and he's just that kind of uncomfortable, you know. But, you know, it was so funny. I loved doing, that was my favorite time in my career was doing Letterman because it was the first time I could be myself. Growing up in New England, you have this sort of attitude that, for example, you come to California, people go, oh, Jay, this is my parents, Bob and Agnes. How are you, Mr. and Mrs. Benicelli? I can't call you Bob and Agnes, okay?
Yeah, exactly.
My friend's parents. So I would always say Mr. Carson or just, it was, you know, I couldn't rag on Johnny or Merv or any of those people because they were like adults that are on TV. So when I got on Letterman, I could be like, hey, Dave, nice tie, you know, and make, in front of Dave, you know. I mean, my favorite thing to do, I would just find out what Letterman's quirks were, you know.
Yep.
Like, right before the show, Dave goes into, like, shutdown mode. He's very quiet, you know. So I would stand in front of the makeup room before Dave come in with, like, a huge meatball sandwich, and I would, Dave, you got to try
Yeah, you'd bring food out. I remember that. I saw that. It's all over YouTube.
And he would
it's
go,
great.
He would go, how can you eat before you go on? I said, what do you get? I said, oh, Dave, meatballs were very good, you know. And I'd be dropping food on the ground. And he would just, you know, the fun part about Dave was it was never about the joke. It was always about on the way to the joke.
Yeah.
And that's what was always fun with Dave. You know, Dave would say, you know, so what have you been doing? I said, you know, I was California. I went out to the old Manson Ranch just to see the gang, and it was, you know, and he would, how is Tex? Oh, Dave, you know, they say hello, by the way, you know, and just these kind of stupid conversations, and it was just so much fun. My favorite time because I took such delight in finding out what would make Letterman laugh,
right,
and just hammering that. I mean, one of my favorite ones was, you know, Dave is always awkward with any talk of success. So one day Dave was on the cover of Success magazine.
Yeah.
You know, so, and it wasn't a big magazine. It was one of these, like, you know, smaller magazines, but I assume they hope it would sell because of Dave's popularity, you know. So I walked out and I said, Dave, congratulations, ladies and gentlemen, have you seen this? Dave's on the cover of Success magazine. You know, Dave, I put that down. No, Dave, I got to show people, you know. And I said, oh, by the way, Dave, and I took out and I said, I'm on the cover of Super Success magazine. and my magazine was like twice the size of Dave's. my picture is twice as big. You know, everything was really, and that really caught Letterman by surprise. You know, that made him. I remember when that was my favorite, just to embarrass Letterman. I remember Letterman was he was the Playboy interview. Those are the days when a Playboy interview was considered very prestigious.
Sure,
you know?
Yeah.
So I come like, Dave, I was just reading your interview in Playboy magazine. You know, he goes, yeah, put that down. You know, Dave, I'm in a magazine this month also. You know, what magazine? And I took out a copy of Women Are Our Equals magazine. And it was like, Dave, can I show you? Here's an article on how women should be paid the same money as men for doing the same work. Oh, yours has what kind of panties is she wearing in this picture, Dave? You know, I just try to embarrass my. And they used to love that. That used to be so much fun. Just trying to find those quirky little areas that Letterman liked that made him laugh, you know.
Do you still watch any late night shows now? Like, do you still watch anything that's on TV, on network these days?
You know,
streaming.
The reason I don't has nothing to do with, you know, it's really commercials. They passed a new rule that they passed this during my reign of the Tonight Show. After midnight, you could add another 3 minutes of ads.
Yeah.
So most of these late night shows have a 9-minute break at 12 to 12:09. You know, every time I switch over to a late night show, it's always on commercial.
Yeah.
And after years of watching Netflix and Amazon Prime, whatever it might be, I just don't see commercials anymore. Mm. And to me, 30-second commercials are so well done, they feel like 2-minute commercials.
Yeah,
because there's so much crammed into them.
Yeah,
you know, and it's the point where you go, geez, I you know, and then you realize most late night shows, including ours too, but they didn't have any choice. You'd have a 8 or 9 minute monologue, sometimes longer.
Yeah.
Then you have a 3 or 4 minute commercial break. Right. Then you get back for 5. Then another commercial break, and it was it just makes it hard to focus. Plus, all I care about are the jokes. So I'm not really interested in watching the interviews of the celebrities because you kind of interviewed everybody, you know.
Yeah, you know, I find that too, and it just seems like nowadays with Twitter and Instagram, we already hear from celebrities all day. So it's by the time it gets to the interview, it's I know all this. I want to hear someone like you.
That was a changing point for us because we realized Johnny would do a 5 to 6 minute monologue.
Yes.
And because the only place you're going to see whoever the guest was is on Johnny, you know, or maybe Merv or something, but that didn't have the same stature. So he would always have the first shot at it, you know. Yep. By the time Dave and I came along, these celebrities, there was Entertainment Tonight and Extra and all these other shows where they would tell their heartwarming story about the crying children of Biafra or something, you know.
Sure.
And okay. So you just so we expanded the monologue to as much as 11, sometimes to 14 minutes, just to keep it going, and that seemed to work. And then you realize there's really only about 18 people in the whole world on a late night show that affect ratings.
Right. Yeah.
It's like Cruise and Schwarzenegger.
Yep.
Everybody else.
And you know what? It's still those same people, too. That's the amazing thing where it's I mean, you had The Rock and, Jennifer Lawrence and people like that. But it's I kind of you did 35 jokes usually every night in the monologue.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just amazing.
That was about right, something like that. And it is funny how you just sort of, how you just get beat up, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And people say to you, you were so edgy. Well, once you're on TV every night, even if you are edgy, you're not edgy by the end of the week because they're so used to what you do.
Right.
So you have to do these cross-section of jokes that work on every level. You know, you have to have maybe 1 or 2 smart jokes, 2 or 3 silly jokes, and and then you have to go through that process of, okay, when times are serious, you do silly jokes. When times are silly, you do serious jokes. You know,
mm-hmm.
So the idea that by doing a longer monologue, you're somewhat limiting yourself because you can't be the average guy in the street when this happened to me. I was walking down the street and this happened. which you can do as a comic, because now you're the host of a show. People go, oh, that's not true. That wouldn't have happened. You know what I mean? So it's, yeah, you're just fighting that all the time, too.
Before we go, though, I need you to tell my favorite Jay Leno story. So you and we each went to Emerson College in Boston, and it's a unique place. And I remember hearing you tell this story once. While you were going to Emerson back in the 70s, the school opened the first co-ed dorm, and there was an incident and a bit of a scandal that followed. Do you know the story I'm talking about?
Oh, you mean you mean the bit I used to do about it?
Yeah.
The thing. Yeah, I remember. That was one of my first jokes. I remember I said you could have girls in your room, you could have drugs in your room, you could have sex in your room 24 hours a day if you wanted to. The only thing you weren't allowed to do was have a hot plate. Is that the one you're talking about?
Well, no, I remember there was a guy and a girl. I guess so there were some parents touring a dorm at Emerson College. And a guy and a girl came out of the bathroom in just towels, and it led to this big uproar in Boston. And I just remember you telling me that Emerson then said they waited like 10 days, and then they finally came out with a statement and said, okay, starting November 1st, no more parents in the dormitories. Oh,
that's right. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. So yeah, that's right. I forgot about that story. Yeah. That's right. No more parents in the dorm. Yeah.
Thank you to Jay Leno for coming on. That was so much fun. And don't forget to keep watching Jay Leno's Garage on CNBC and You Bet Your Life. Check your local listings. Jay wasn't the only Tonight Show host I got to speak with this fall. For 9 years, I was a writer on Late Night with Jimmy Fallon and also the head monologue writer at The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon from the beginning of the show into 2018. And this fall, at Comics Come Home in Boston, the great Dennis Leary Cam Neely fundraiser for the Neely House, I crossed paths with Jimmy for the first time in 5 years. I wasn't quite sure how it would go. He probably wasn't either, but I think it went pretty well. We saw each other. It ended up being a nice moment. So what better way to cap off a Tonight Show-centric episode than with Jimmy Fallon?
All right, I'm here with Jimmy Fallon. First of all,
John Rineman, look at this beard.
Jimmy, I'm very sorry I haven't been into work in 5 years. Is there anything I missed?
You have to, by the way. I was going to call you and say you have to. I mean, this COVID thing is one thing, but yeah, you got to come into work, please.
Well, I have athlete's foot. Right. So the other thing, next question, and you brought it up before. Who do you think has the best midlife crisis beard, me or you?
I don't know. What do you think? Yours is kind of manscaped on the side a little bit.
Yeah, I trimmed it a little bit.
I saw it. Yeah,
my daughter.
Your daughter did it?
Yeah, my daughter insisted that I be done that way.
If you went a little further, it would be boy band from the 90s.
It?
Yes.
Are you being paid tonight in cash or Monkey NFTs?
I do anything for It's all Bitcoin, dude. It's all crypto. You know me all the way, man.
All right, bust me now. What's your favorite stupid Rineman story that everyone can hear?
Oh, gosh, there's so many Rineman stories. Are you kidding me?
We played kickball one time, and I seem to remember a particular error at first base where you called me Buckner for a month. Do you remember that?
I knew that would bother you. That's why.
Yeah.
I knew that would stick in your head. But we've had many memories. Didn't we go to WWE?
We went to WWE, went to WrestleMania together.
Sat ringside. It was unbelievable.
It was unbelievable. It was great.
And something happened. Was that the night that either you found out you were having a baby or something else, something like major happened in your life?
Yeah, and I said, you know what? I said,
baby
I said, daughter, Vince.
You go, daughter of wrestling. Yeah, which one am I going to choose? Yeah,
now,
you chose WWE.
I chose WWE. Now, there's been some rumors about your show. I don't want to put you on the spot, but your show possibly going up to 10:30 p.m. How are you going to handle it? Are you going to have to get rid of your trademark edginess?
Yeah, I'm going to have to call you about that. I need some help writing. No more swearing at 10:30.
Well, I know you spent some time in New Hampshire, and the next time you come, I'd love to have you just swing or give me a call.
I'll do it.
In the morning.
I love it.
What's the best show everyone should listen to?
Ryman in the Morning, of course.
Thank you, my friend.
Come on, bud. New England forever.
Thanks, dude.
Dude, you look good, bud.
You too. It's good talking to you.
Good to see you.
See you soon. All right, bye-bye.
And the offer stands. Swing by on your way up to the lake. Thank you, Jimmy, and thank you, Jay, and thank you for listening to the Ryman in the Morning podcast, and thanks for keeping me company.